Hello and welcome. Monday, 6th of October marks the start of a Challenge Poverty Week 2025, a national annual campaign coordinated by the Poverty Alliance. First launched in 2013, this week is all about shining a light on poverty and inequality and highlighting the urgent need for meaningful long-term solutions to build a fairer Scotland for everyone. I'm Dave Ironside. I'm joined in the studio by Rachel, and of course I'm joined also by Fiona Young, who is a community development worker at the Tillydrone Flat. Welcome to you.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're an old hand at this. You've done this a few times, haven't you?
It's been a while, but I have done it a few times before.
Yes. So could you tell us a little bit about the Tilly Flat and what happens there?
Sure. So the Tilly Flat was established, I think, somewhere around about 14, 15 years ago as a result of closures of Portland Community Centre. So the Community Flat was opened, and it was initially more of an adult learning centre. And I've been there for 11 and a half years, along with Sarah, who's been there for about 13, 14 years. And in the last 11 years, I think we've gone from around 1,000 service accesses to almost 8,000 last year.
Wow.
And the remit of what we offer has really changed. We've become much more a centre for people to come for support and advice and advocacy around social security issues, around financial issues, housing. We provide still some adult learning classes. We've got gardening opportunities. We've got a room where anyone can come and sit all day as long as they want, go online, have cups of tea and find company, which is probably the most important thing we offer. Phone access, we've got laundry access, and we've got complimentary health therapies twice a week with the amazing May, and the food bank, which is... It started off as a few tins under the sink and is now just absolutely vast and hugely in demand. So if people need anything, we will try and make it happen. You know, we're there to support the entire community, established community members, people that have moved in the area recently, babies, pensioners and everyone in between. We're just there for everyone.
That's brilliant.
That sounds like amazing work. You know, there's quite a lot of stuff going on there.
It's varied.
Yeah.
So why is Challenge, this is maybe a silly question, but why is Challenge Poverty Week important to you? And on a personal level as well as an organisation as well?
Yeah. Societal inequality has grown and grown and grown over the last few years. And it's the have and have-nots are just so hugely apart, you know, financially apart. Not just financially, but with achievement, attainment, quality of life, it's getting worse and worse and worse. I was made redundant back in 1991 when I was living in South East England, and I was given £45 a week unemployment benefit.
Wow.
And I managed fine on it. And I thought, how did I manage fine on that then? So I looked up an inflation calculator online, and my £45 a week in 1991 would now have the equivalent value of £123 odd a week.
Really?
But universal credit's basic level is £92.50. So it's almost a 70 odd % drop in income that people are facing compared to what I got back then. So it's in no way keeping up with inflation. The last few years we've seen massive hikes in energy bills, in food prices, and it's just not sustainable. People can't afford to live. You've got about 1 or 2% of the world's population controlling about 43% of the world's wealth. So trickle-down economics aren't working, despite promises made back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And it's working poor. We're seeing more and more people coming through the door that are working, but who can barely make ends meet, or in some cases just cannot make ends meet. They've seen council tax increases. They've seen, household costs just increase astronomically. We've seen pensioners who are just over the threshold for getting pension credits, meaning they're struggling as well. And you need to highlight these issues. It's happening to everyone. It's not just happening to unemployed people. It's happening to everyone across the board. It's having a really negative impact on people's physical health, on people's mental health. It's having a really negative impact on communities, because instead of looking upwards to see where the problem's coming from, people are looking sideways and downwards. You've got the old dead cat strategy. You know, put the dead cat on the table.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to look at that instead of looking at the real problem. So people who are unemployed are blaming other people who are unemployed who might get slightly more payments than they are. Now everyone's blaming asylum seekers. It used to be single mothers. So at the moment, raising awareness of the impact of poverty and how people are living in poverty and how this needs to be addressed is more essential than ever.
So what do you hope to achieve through this then?
I think highlighting to people that it's not the fault of individuals in your community. It's not their fault that we're all worse off. It's not the fault of people claiming tax credits or claiming disability payments. It's not the fault of people who are coming here to seek a better life. We need to look upwards. We need to actually get together and campaign government and local authorities to actually be aware and to acknowledge the situation, and to acknowledge their role in creating this situation, and to acknowledge that only they can actually alleviate this. But this is going to take a massively concerted effort by communities, by individuals, by organisations to force them to become aware of the issues around poverty.
And I suppose it's got a whole lot worse since COVID as well, because
of course
people
has.
lost their jobs.
People lost their jobs.
Lost their confidence as well.
They did, and for young people particularly, the kids who were at school, especially I think the ones starting secondary school, who had to go into lockdown for that really vital period in their life when you're making some of the most important friends you have, when you're finding yourself, finding your independence, getting your experiences. And I think COVID really, really highlighted disparity and discrepancy, the differences in society. Because if you live in a relatively well-off household and you've got your own bedroom and you've got a garden and you've got a laptop and a tablet, you are able to participate in lessons in your school and to have outside exercise in a way that someone in a poorer household living in a flat with no garden and possibly no broadband in the house, because it might just be a smartphone that parents got, you can't afford a broadband contract, they were completely disengaged. And they were left so far behind. And I see so much anger amongst young people and so much anxiety amongst young people. And then for general households, you've got COVID, you've got job cuts, but at the same time, energy prices went through the roof, food prices went astronomically high. And no one's recovered from that yet. And then at the moment, we've got this massive rollout where everyone's suddenly being rushed onto universal credit and they're going to face up to 5 weeks without their first payment. And it's just an absolute disaster. It really is. It's a national shame and a national disaster for people.
Yeah. Well, what would you think that an effective and fair social security system look like?
Well, as I said, if you look back to when I was on unemployment benefits 30 odd years ago, and I managed to live on that, that was potentially, it wasn't a great deal, but potentially it was in line with inflation. It needs to be revised so it is in line with inflation. If I was on, if that balanced out is £123 odd a week now, why are people being given £92.50 and expected to pay their gas, their electric, their phone? And they need to have a phone, because if they miss a call from Universal Credit, Department of Work and Pensions, are sanctioned and the money gets cut. People can't buy enough food. And often if you're in a poor area, there aren't any supermarkets nearby. You've got corner shops and local shops which are expensive with less choice. And a food bank's not a solution. That's a sticking plaster. They're a national embarrassment, they're a national shame. No one should have to use a food bank.
I was going to ask you about that actually, because we spoke about this before about food banks, and it's got worse and worse and worse.
It's got worse.
And you think it's maybe levelling out a bit.
No.
And there's still a massive stigma attached to that as well, about people going there as well. But it's a necessity now.
It's a necessity. And you had, I think it was Jacob Rees-Mogg a few years ago saying he'd been to a food bank and wasn't that such a marvellous thing. You had senior politicians saying how fantastic they are. Then you had Lee Anderson saying that everyone should be able to live off 30 pence a day. And they just haven't got a clue. They have not got a clue. The shame and stigma of going to a food bank for many people, especially mothers with children, is very, very real, especially for people in work who think, I work, I should be able to buy my own food, and they can't, and they're to come and top it up. And it takes away real choice, and we try to make our parcels as fair and as culturally appropriate and as healthy as we can, but we are very, very limited in what we can offer. And we get amazing support from Seafine, we get amazing support from Heather at Cairncrow Community Centre, who brings us stuff, from St George's Community Centre in Tillydrone, who bring us bread from their own supplies when they pick it up. It's not meeting demand, and there's no dignity of choice there. People should be able to go and buy food that's healthy, affordable, of their own choosing, culturally appropriate, dietary appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And be able to meet that demand. We all should be able to do that. That is a basic human right, and people at the moment do not have that human right.
When I was growing up, my mum and dad was both working as well, There was no money problems, anything like that. And then you come into now, and there's so many people not working. But even, as you say, people that are working are really struggling as well. And I'd like to know who sets the £92 for the universal credit, because that's ridiculous.
They haven't got a clue. They absolutely haven't got a clue. It might just have been manageable about 5 or 6 years ago, when energy prices were about 50% lower, and when food prices weren't as astronomically high as they were, just about. But God forbid you need a new pair of shoes and a winter coat. You know, we're now providing pet food, toiletries, household cleaning products. We've got donation. We've got some clothes. We haven't got space to really do this, but we'll take in like kids' clothes, so people can just go through that if they want to and take what they need. People are asking for nappies. We put a toilet roll in every food parcel, because no one should have to ask for something as basic as that.
Literally, yeah.
You know, it's a humiliating process, and it's not the solution. It's not the solution. I mean, there needs to be almost a national basic income, agreed income, and whether that is through Social Security or the other form of national basic income, it needs to be in line with the cost of living.
Yeah.
And it's just not happening at the moment.
One of the things that really annoys me about that is that fuel and gas prices go up, food prices go up. They never come down, even though they say, everything's settling out. They never come down. So if you're paying 50% or 100% more for a chocolate bar, which is a basic chocolate bar now, and it's minute in size, and you think to yourself, well, you know, why is the price not coming down?
This is it, and they're not. I mean, I was looking at, I was buying a bit of chocolate for my other half the other day, and I thought it's £1.50 for a Mars bar.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
I know.
Really, when did that happen? But it's the same with the energy prices. We were told they were going to come back down again, and they did very slightly, but now this month they're going up again.
That's right.
And then you look at the profits made by the energy companies, and you think, well, where's that going? Why are they still profiting so much when we are paying more and more? Where is the feedback that we were promised? Where's our comeback and a community payback for that we were promised? And it's not happening.
It's going up the price when you're coming into the coldest time of the year as
absolutely.
well. So
it's been increased, and they will use it more.
Gas and that as well. It's absolutely ridiculous.
What I don't understand is they can increase the price of daily life things. You know, everything in the shops. Like you say, the gas and electric and etc. But they don't increase the pay.
No,
that people are working.
No, they don't.
So, I mean, it's all fine for the people up there that are setting these costs and things, but they're not the ones that are living through it.
They're not. And I mean, I used to work for the civil service, and it was a great job. I absolutely loved it. I was a food standards agency, and you've got the team that write the policies. So this is what people should be eating to be healthy. This is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And then all the kind of food safety legislation and stuff like that. So they're writing it, and they're basing this on statistics and knowledge and science. But what they're not doing is getting out and talking to people. And our board acknowledged this back in about 2006, that actually we need to get feedback from what they call the hard-to-reach consumers, the people that maybe wouldn't respond to consultation. So teams were set up in the 4 devolved countries, and myself and my colleague had the consumer engagement agreement for Scotland, and we were from Kirkcudbright up to the Highlands, working with anyone from groups of young mothers in remote areas, groups of old people in remote areas, with kids leaving care, with people with mental health issues, with people with physical disabilities, with not in education, employment or training kids. Just different groups all the time to find out what were their barriers to healthy eating, what were their experiences, what was their knowledge of food safety, and how would they like to receive information about this? Because one size doesn't fit all.
No,
we would then take the findings back, write a report and pass that on to policymakers who would then consider it in how to reach people and how to get out there. And this is what's happening. You need to listen to people. You need to talk to them. And I always say that it's really easy for governments to ignore this because they've got, well, we have these statistics, which are generally very skewed because we've got X many very wealthy people who completely give a skewed response to what's happening at the bottom. But if they actually went out and spoke to people face to face and heard their lived experiences, they would find it so much harder to ignore.
And just see the amount of
exactly,
people that
and do not say, "My, isn't this a wonderful thing?"
Yeah.
You know, it's just a horrible situation that people are in just now. It's third world.
It is, it is.
Yeah. So, who is the most impacted by the current system, and can you describe some of the main barriers that people face when it comes to accessing the help that they're entitled to?
I would previously have said it was people who were actually on Social Security who were most badly impacted, but it's not. It's a huge range of people that are being really badly impacted by the cost of living now.
Yeah.
So you have got obviously people who are on the most basic level of universal credit, but then you've also got people who may be on a slightly higher level of a disability, especially a physical disability, which means they're at home a lot and then they can't afford to turn on their heating, which may have an adverse impact on their health. pensioners, like I said, are really struggling just now as well, because so many just miss the cusp for pension credits.
Yep.
We had a lovely lady come in to see us, and she's in her 70s with kind of Dowager's hump. She's obviously got scoliosis or kyphosis in her spine. She's still working as a cleaner in her 70s. And my colleague was trying to figure out how can we get her pension credits, but she's just not going to be eligible for them, so she said she'll just carry on working.
How?
And I know.
You know, for someone that's worked their whole life.
Yeah, and who has physical impairments and is in their 70s, but she feels she cannot give up work at the moment.
That is awful.
It's a terrible situation.
It's awful. The other group that we're seeing a lot of now is students who are coming to the UK. So after Brexit, obviously the universities lost huge amounts of EU funding. I mean, billions of EU funding, and they lost the EU students, who are quite a good source of income because there's no freedom of movement anymore.
Yeah.
Therefore, they've had to target other parts of the world to try and get students to come in, and they're targeting a lot of African countries. And West Africa in particular, we've got Nigeria, they've got a massive oil and gas industry. So the opportunity to come here to what was essentially the centre of the world studies for oil and gas and engineering is a really good opportunity. So in order to come here, the students have to have about £30,000 in savings or in funds. They have to pay, I think it's about £1,800 a year for the NHS when they come here. And they are in a situation which is called NRPF, which is no recourse to public funds. So they'll come over here and they're generally promised a stipend by their government as well to live off when they come here. And while they're here studying and paying a vast amount in course fees and tuition and NHS to study here, they are not entitled to any support from public funds. So they cannot apply for social housing or housing association housing. They cannot apply for any social security benefits, apart from a very small loophole regarding a child, I think under 7 or under over 7, I can't remember, they've got to have lived here for a certain amount of time, and that is only £20 a week child benefit.
What's that going to get you?
Exactly. And they can't, if they're struggling, you know, we'll often refer people to the Scottish Welfare Fund to try and get emergency support for money for gas, electric, food, washing machine, etc. They are not eligible for that because that is public funds. So the universities don't seem to know what to do about this. And we are seeing a bigger increase in these fantastic students coming to our food bank because they need to be fed as well.
Yep.
And this is I know that GREC are doing a lot of work about NRPF at the moment at raising awareness and highlighting this just now. So that's a group we haven't seen before that we're dealing with now. And like I said, a lot more people in work, a lot more families. It used to be primarily single people that came to our food bank, mainly single men. But now it's everyone that's coming in to use it and coming in to use the service in general, you know, to try and find out, is there a way that we can actually maximise a household income? And we're really lucky we've got Claire Frew from the financial inclusion team at Aberdeen City Council, who comes in every second Tuesday and does phenomenal work with people to try and maximise household income.
Yep.
But if there isn't enough coming in, you can't make anything else out of it.
You can't make your ends meet.
And the thing about pensions as well, people are working longer because they've got to work longer because they don't get their state pension until they're
67.
67,
in my
and
case,
then next year it'll be up and up and up, and you're working all your life and paying your insurance stamp for that.
This is
as
it.
Well.
I mean, I'm 57. A few years ago, I'd been looking forward to retiring in a couple of years, but that's just not going to happen now. You know, it's never going to. I think it's never going to happen. Really, I'll just carry on working until I drop.
It's like when is the break?
I know.
Yeah.
When do you get a break?
I know.
You know, when you give so much to society and the community, and obviously we're working.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there should be a cut-off point.
There should be a cut-off point. And that's the thing is that's stopping other people getting into jobs.
It is,
because other people are working longer. So whereas people would maybe retire at 60 before, they're waiting until they're 66,
they'll carry on doing it.
That's 7 years that people can't get into jobs. Are waiting.
And that's it as well. And once you are older, it's really hard to change job. You might get stuck in a job you hate because despite lots of legislation around it, there is still an age bias in certain sectors. So if you're over 55, it can be quite hard to get taken on somewhere. Yeah. And then that builds resentment among younger people who are like, well, are these folk, the boomers are all taking our jobs, or in my case, Generation X, but, you know, they're keeping the jobs. We can't get a foothold in here because they should retire, but we can't. We can't retire.
No.
You know, we can't afford to retire.
Yeah.
And again, it's just building up societal divisions.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I did a little bit of volunteering last year, and you're talking about food banks. So I did up at Mission Christmas up at with Cash for Kids.
Oh, it's amazing. I've been up to their centre to pick our stuff up. It's nuts. It's amazing.
It's actually really emotional. You go
It's
up there
hugely emotional.
when you see that all that presents there that kids would not have to open on Christmas Day. That's a basic requirement for kids. Christmas is for kids.
The first year I worked at the flat, and that would have been 2014, is one of the most devastating incidents I've had there ever. And we were doing the Given Tree presents.
Oh, yeah.
And a lady came in. I'd never seen her before, and I've never seen her since. And if she hears this, wherever you are, I really, really wish you well and hope everything has worked out for you. And she was very, very head down, very quiet, and asked for a private word. And she'd split up with her partner, who wasn't paying anything towards her 3 kids. She had a part-time job. She couldn't get more hours at her work, and then also she would pay for childcare, which she couldn't do either. So she was stuck in a part-time job with 3 kids aged between about 9 and 15, I think. And she didn't know how she was going to get Christmas presents for them because her ex-partner was doing nothing. And could we help? And I said, of course we could help. But then I looked at the polo shirt she was wearing with a corporate logo on it, and I said, please tell me that's not where you work. And she worked for Toys R Us. And she has obviously spent the last 4 to 6 weeks sitting there smiling at people with trolleys piled up with gifts that the kids they probably won't even look at half of them.
No, that's right.
Saying to her, all cheery and smiling, oh, what a time of year, are you all ready for Christmas? And she's got to smile and say yes. And she's seen this every single day for weeks, the Christmas music on, and she's got to come to charity to get gifts for her kids. I cried. I went home and I cried about that one for days.
I would as well.
That broke me. That really broke me. And then I started thinking, well, being able to help people with the presents is brilliant. That's the tip of the iceberg. What about all the families that either don't know where to get help or are too ashamed to go and get help, that are sat there with nothing? And then once you start thinking like that, you can destroy yourself. You can and you've just got to kind of take a breath, step back, and know that you can give what you can, you can help who you can, you can try and publicise it so people know they can get help. But it's always there in the back of your head that there's people there that just aren't accessing that support. And it is so hard at Christmas. It's so hard. We've had people in tears just from getting a few wee gifts for their kids.
I mean, it blew my mind away. When we went up there and helped the first year, went up, and then the second year it got bigger, it got bigger, and it was absolutely... And
it's humbling. The generosity of people is mind blowing, especially when you know everyone's struggling themselves.
I think that's the way it should be.
And during COVID particularly, and I think COVID, people really, really wanted to help. And the amount of stuff we got during the pandemic was insane, because we stayed open pretty much throughout the pandemic, which I'd working at home for 12 weeks the first 3 months, and it just didn't work, so we just opened up again. And people really do want a way of giving, and it's. I mean, I went up to Mission Kids one year to pick it up, and seeing the scale of that operation, you're right, is absolutely insane.
All over,
from everywhere,
the Shire, the city. I mean, I went to Colts Academy, right, and I used to get ribbed for being you're going to a posh school.
I was a King Arthur. I'd been ribbing you.
but
Colts has got poorer areas. Court's got quite poor areas as well. Yeah,
there was 5 cages for Colts Academy, and I'm like, how does that happen? You know, it's all over, because people say, oh, you've got all these areas in Aberdeen, the sort of less influential areas. It's
everywhere. Seafine have got the mobile pantry, which comes to Tillydrone. Now, they've been looking for a while at opening a permanent food pantry in Tilly, because the mobile pantry is now needed in areas like Countess Wells, and the new builds out in Countess Wells and in Dyson and Bridge of Dawn, which are areas you'd never think there'd be a demand for a mobile food pantry or food banks. But it's everywhere.
Do you think, I'll ask you both this question, because you obviously helped out with the Seaton Food Bank as well. Do you think that Tilly Flat and the Seaton Community Centre brings people together more in the community to get the community back together again? Because communities have been broken.
They have. I mean, we've always had a very open door policy. You know, we are... unless it's a long thing you want to come in about a form or something, we don't need appointments. Folk can just come in and out as they please all day, every day. And it does bring people together. I mean, we deal with a lot of people in the flat particularly who might have issues around social isolation, mental ill health or substance misuse. And we're never there to judge folk or deny them entry because of that. If somebody turns up in an absolute state where they might cause harm to themselves or other people, we'll politely ask them to come back later. But just having the space in the middle room, the wee computer room, which is now named after legendary Tillydrone Stephen Klein, known as Cat, who sadly died at the start of the year. We've kind of named the room in his honour. Folk can come and sit in that room all day, every day, and just have their cup of tea and go online and find someone to speak to. And it does bring the community together. If folk want to help, they'll come in and they'll volunteer. They'll bring us their carrier bags, things like that. And they'll meet other people in there and they'll find something in common with them. And I think it is essential to have that sort of thing in a community. Not in such a structured building. It's not like a formal community centre where you're mainly in for activities. We're just a drop-in where folk can just come in for no reason other than they want to come in for a cup of tea and speak to somebody.
Yeah.
Do you find the same at Seaton, or?
I don't know. I think it's a different.
It's a different setup.
It's a different setup. And when it comes to like the food pantry, it's literally people just come in and then they go. But we always see the same people every week, which, you know, is absolutely heartbreaking because most of them are families.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, most of them are immigrants, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, we all know what's going on in the world just now, but it's just really, really heartbreaking.
It is. It's devastating.
So it's kind of hard to see the community come together in that sense because we have so many people against it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's shocking. That
yeah,
I mean,
it's just changed the dynamic of it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, for places like that, like the Tilly Flat as well. There's a lot of stuff going on in Tillydrone with the community centre.
Oh, it's brilliant.
George's
it's
Church
absolutely brilliant.
And the Tilly Flat. It's really
and the new school.
Yeah, and the new
school's mind-blowingly fantastic.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's the most amazing facility. It's got the only primary school with a purpose-built dance studio in Aberdeen.
Oh, really?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the campus has got so much stuff going on. They've got live music entertainment. They've got the Andy's Man Club sessions going on. They've got craft groups and art groups and just anything there. And St George's has just hit the ground running. St George's Community Centre, the old church.
Yeah.
The stuff going on there is absolutely amazing. We've finally got a lot of exercise classes and things in Tilly. We've got guitar lessons, photography groups, stuff for kids, international cooking classes. And then the former lads club, ALC, the makeover in there, if you haven't seen it, try and get in and seen it. It's insanely brilliant.
It sounds fantastic.
It's great. I mean, and then the Wallace Tower redevelopment as well, which is looking amazing just now. The cafe area is almost complete. So
nice.
There's so much fantastic stuff going on in the area. And the Cruyff Court, obviously we've got the new Cruyff Court as well.
Right,
There's so much brilliant stuff going on in the area. Which thankfully is mainly free at point of entry, or it's a very small fee for some of the groups. But there's still a lot of stigma in the area. But all this is fantastic, but it means that folk are still going home to abject poverty.
Well, that's it. And that's the thing is, you can take their minds off it for a little while, but it's not solving the big problem.
No, it's not solving it.
So
no.
The next question would be, for me to ask you, what would you say to decision makers then?
At a local government level, I would say, please stop putting the Fair Aberdeen Fund under threat every year and actually consider increasing it. The work delivered by the Fair Aberdeen Fund partners is irreplaceable. There's no way the local authority, who are already facing massive cuts, could afford it.
No.
Most of us get paid a lot less than our counterparts would in the local authority, even though we're meant to be kind of on the same pay grade. I think Sarah and I have like a 1% pay rise in 3 years. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Because that's even anywhere near
it's not. But it's either pay ourselves more or cut support to the flat. Because there's only the two of us, you know. So we would rather keep the flat going than have a pay rise ourselves.
Yeah,
you know, it really is that simple. And most folk in these organisations across the city are the same way. The other issue we found is trying to attract staff can be hard because we can't offer the same salaries as bigger organisations. And quite often, because the funding's year on year, you can't attract people to a 1-year contract that may or may not continue. Now, I've been on a 1-year contract for 11 and a half years, which is great, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been able to stick it. I've got support at home and I'm in a position where I'm able to do it. I would like to, of course, I'd like to earn more. It's not easy. And your wages don't go as far as they do, but I'm passionate about what I do and I'm fortunate to have a job that I love. But this, every single year, the kind of sword of Damocles hanging over the heads of the Fair Aberdeen Fund, it's terrifying for us all, and it's especially terrifying for our service users who may not have, that could just go overnight in their support system, whether it's because they've got North East Sensory Services for people with vision impairment, hearing impairment, or for some of the charities working with kids, Befriend a Child or whoever else, or for the community groups like ourselves, or for shmu, or for CFINE, or folk working with older people. All this work is being delivered at really, really low cost to the
Oh, very
local
low
authority
cost, yeah.
by people who have real intrinsic inside knowledge of the communities they are supporting.
And also passionate about it as
And are
well.
passionate about it, and that cannot be replicated.
No.
So at a local level, they just need to look at how much value for money are we getting out of this. And there's, I think it was Dave Black did some amazing statistics on with Market from Pathways about exactly how much it delivers, not just in the staff delivery, but the volunteering are words that are put into it as well. So I'd like to see a reassurance that this won't be cut and that we will have security to carry on delivering what we're doing.
It's always a threat, though.
It's a threat, and it's never really gone up. So we're trying to deliver using the same income services to 7,500 folk that were delivering to about 1,000 12 years ago on the same income.
The thing about that is that I always see that they say, right, the Tilly Flat's going to get cut, and then they come back and say, no, it's not getting cut, but you're getting the same money as you got last year. As if that's it
is, and we're unbelievably grateful to the Fair Aberdeen Fund and to the decision makers that keep it going. But every year you just have this fear about it, and every year you just, a couple of weeks ago, it's like, how are we going to keep the food bank going? But we don't know what to do. At a government level, as I said earlier, about looking at the rate of universal credit and doing the inflation calculator, where compared to 34 years ago it would have been £123 odd a week. You need to speak to people. You need to actually look at how much it costs to heat a badly insulated old stock house, council house with a shoddy heating system because the boiler's now been replaced for ages.
Yes.
You need to look at that's maybe not got double glazing. You need to go and look at a weekly shop for a family on a budget and see how you'd work a very basic one, and then find out you've got to put stuff back, or you can't afford a bottle of shampoo, or you can't afford a deodorant, or you can't afford to buy toilet roll. You try and figure that out, and the only way they're going to do that is by speaking to people and listening to people, and not pointing us to direct our anger and our hate at other people who are also struggling.
Yes, sir.
Look upwards. Why have such a small percentage got full control of the world's wealth? Oh, would that be because of tax evasion? Would it be because of that? Why are folk buying up massive multi-stories, new builds in London, while social housing's demolished to make way for them, and then they're not living there? Huge oligarchs are buying that, and they're being allowed to do that, and they're just decaying, even though they're brand new, because no one's living there. Why aren't we looking at that? Why aren't we looking at massive corporations that aren't paying corporation tax and are getting away with that? You know, this is what is wrong. Look upwards to see where the problems are.
There's never a trickle-down effect, is there?
No, that was Thatcher socioeconomics, where it's going to be a trickle-down effect by making folk wealthier at the top, it'll trickle down.
Yeah.
It hasn't.
No.
It has not. If you look at statistically, the disparity in wealth distribution across the world is insane. You know, it's absolutely nuts. Nothing is trickling down.
No.
Do you think there's any part that they're getting it right? Any part of the system that is right?
No.
No.
Quite frankly, no, I don't. I really do not at all.
Yep. The whole system needs change.
I heard at the conference they might be lifting the 2-child benefit cap. That's a very small help, I suppose. It's very, very small. But it's not affecting a massive impact on the wider population at all.
I don't think they realise how much this has an impact on mental health.
No.
And then for mental health services to be struggling.
Oh God, this is
with
it.
the amount of people.
This is it, and they go under. They just can't keep up demand. We find it hard to keep up, demand in our services. Everyone is finding it hard just now because, with more and more strain on the NHS, you try and get an appointment with a psychologist at Cornhill. You wait for about a year. What's happened to you in that time? You try and get, an appointment with. You try and get somebody from the local authority to come out and support you. There aren't enough staff because local authorities would cut massive swathes of staff all over the place.
It's a constant ripple effect.
The government has cut massive public sector jobs. I think in 2010, when the Tories came in, and I was working in government at the time, the Scottish government, the job cuts to the public sector were mental. I think it was like 30,000 jobs in one thing. But then they get the contractors in to do it, which costs more because they've got to deliver it somehow. But they're delivering it in the wrong places.
Yeah.
There needs to be a whole systemic review. It's just not working, and they're not listening to people. What they're doing now is, reform are a big threat to us as a government. We don't want to lose our place in government. Let's try and take some of their policies on. No, You need to stick with your own policies. You're losing your own base, but you need to tell people where the real problems are coming from.
definitely.
You're
Yeah.
encouraging people to look at asylum seekers, at people living in poverty, at the disabled, and blame them, because it's easy for the government to do that. And it's not fair.
The mental health thing that you mentioned, Rachel, it's a good point. That,
Yeah.
Because if you look, mental health Aberdeen closed down.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't afford to keep it open.
No, they
Yeah.
couldn't.
And that's ridiculous. I mean, I know that Sam H says they're going to be opening up in Aberdeen next year and they're going to have a drop-in mental health centre. But to have a dedicated place for people to go, and because they're struggling.
Who had been there for 75 years,
I know.
providing that support.
It's truly awful.
And that they supported, a lot of young people as well, children and young people with mental health concerns, and trying to get an appointment at CAMS, the kind of NHS run centre. That takes ages for parents. And this is it. And poverty, it doesn't just impact your physical health, about how you can afford to eat and whether you're cold. It affects your mental health. It affects your self-esteem.
Yeah.
You don't feel valued as a person,
No,
and you
that's
feel you
exactly
are of no value. You're made to feel that you're a burden. You've got, was it a few years ago when it was the unemployed world targeting benefit sheet, and a dozen more programmes in their ilk. And the tabloids gone on about benefit scroungers with their flat screen TVs and their smartphones and their, it's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
But now that everyone's poor, right, who can we get them to blame now?
Yeah.
Immigrants. Right, look that way. Look at them now.
Literally.
Because everyone's now so poor. But the effect on folks' self-esteem, having to use a food bank, not being able to buy a nice deodorant, not being able to wash your hair,
I know.
not being able to buy a
That's
new
basic
outfit.
things again, just basic.
It's
things.
demeaning.
I know.
It's demeaning, and it shouldn't be demeaning. It's no one should have to live like that. Not in a wealthy country, and not in this day and age.
Well, actually, the Scotland Demands Better campaign linked to Challenge Poverty Week going to be a march and rally in Edinburgh on the 25th of October. What would a better Scotland look like for you? Not just a better sort of Aberdeen, but a better Scotland, because this has got to be nationwide.
It's got to be nationwide. It's got to be nationwide. It's got to be nationwide across the UK, really, if we're looking at that, because unfortunately, Scottish Government doesn't have control over the likes of universal credit. They have got some devolved social security payments, but you see we're stuck with under Westminster rule. I mean, Aberdeen's got some really poor areas, but you look at some of the other areas in Scotland, especially in the west of Scotland, and the poverty levels are almost Dickensian,
Yeah.
and people aren't getting the opportunities. So household income needs to be looked at. What is the kind of mean household income that everyone needs to live from? And how can we make that happen for everyone? That won't happen at Scottish Government level. But they have to listen, because they need to go and then lobby Westminster for that. They really need to listen to the people. A fairer Scotland is going to be somewhere where no one is hungry, where everyone has a house that's actually fit for habitation, where children are getting the same educational opportunities across the board, where kids are also getting the opportunity to participate in sports and outside school activities, which can be so expensive.
So expensive.
So expensive.
I'm
You've
there.
got kids that want to go to dance class or theatre groups, or you've got a kid that wants to do athletics or something. You've got to buy all that kit and whatever.
Yeah.
They're getting totally priced out of that. That needs to be part of it. Young people who are disengaged need opportunities. They need encouragement and they need support. And society needs to come together to make a better Scotland. There's too much division in society at the moment, and that needs to be addressed. People need to come together and talk their differences out. And it's not so much, I don't think, a case of the far left and the far right now. It's a case of the up and the down in society, and that's
definitely
where we need to look to bring people together, because everyone, no matter what side they're on, is facing the same struggle. And a lot of the division in society now is coming from fear and from anger at their own living situations and needing someone to blame. So I think we need to... A better Scotland would involve looking upwards to solve the problems.
Yeah.
How do you think we could try and fix it without, like before, because upwards probably never going to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the actual chances of them being like, actually, that they're speaking sense here. Let's change this. How do we become a community again?
This is it.
In amongst all this hatred.
In amongst all the hatred. Hatred and vision, and I can be really guilty about lashing out at people for it, because I just get so angered by it. But at the same time,
understandable.
I I can't understand where a proportion of the hate is coming from. And it's hate, it's fear-driven. And unfortunately, it seems to have given people license to say some really, really appalling things that would not have been even considered possible to say just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
It's really, really sad. It's really, really sad. I'm not a policy maker. I'm not even going to suggest anything that can be happening to deal with this. There needs to be more assistance put in place regarding every issue that's going on just now. But as a community, we need to stop blaming each other for what is happening in the world just now, and to actually come together.
It's not our control, is it?
It's outside of our control, but the hatred really should stop. That people living in fear for whatever reason, on whatever side of the fence they're on, that needs to be addressed so we can come together. Because at the moment, and if you look at America particularly as well, if it gets much worse, we're heading for civil war. Mm-hmm. Really, it could actually get the street where this is actually taking over the streets. I can see that already. It's something you never thought you'd say in my lifetime.
No,
but
absolutely.
it is looking towards a civil war at the moment.
Yeah.
And the thing is, as well, is the suicide rates are rising.
Yeah.
With all this hatred as well, like, how are we supposed to live with peace and just being together? Like,
This is it, yeah.
how are we supposed to support one another when there's so much
have lost
hate?
hope. That's the thing
They
about
have.
it.
People have lost hope. You can't see anything. And all we keep getting told by governments is, oh, well, it's not going to get any better. Well, it could get better. Why don't you look at taxing some massive companies and putting that back in the economy?
Yeah.
You're so scared they might leave the country. But really, other countries do this. So
But just on a local level, and you was talking about school and the school activities.
Yeah.
And I'm going back, my daughter was at a grammar school. Now, they was told they had to get a gym kit, 150 quid. There's only one place you could, and she was exempt for doing gym, but you still got to buy the kit. And as I say, if your kids are on holiday, it costs an arm and a leg to take them to even soft play areas.
Oh,
or something
aye.
like that.
Absolutely.
Why do
Absolutely.
these prices need to come down?
this is it.
Just
And I
so
mean,
they can-
I think this ridiculous thing with certain schools saying you can only buy your uniform from one particular supplier and it must cost this.
It's
I'm
expensive.
sorry. Really, maybe, okay, if you've got to wear a blazer, that may be expensive, but surely they can just nip to Primark or Asda to buy your shirts and your trousers and your whatever else like that, or your gym kit. It's ridiculous. And that's the thing as well, the summer holidays, the increase in use in our food bank is massive.
Yeah, I bet it is. Aye.
Because kids with school dinners, free school dinners, are all meant to get vouchers for extra meals during the holidays. But we've had folk coming and saying they hadn't come through about 2 or 3 weeks into the holiday.
Yeah.
I never got
So
mine.
you didn't?
No.
There you go.
I think I got maybe one. There were supposed to be 3 or 4.
This is it. And this is an extra meal you've got to provide for your family, plus snacks through the day, because kids weren't fed all the time in the holidays.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not a lot of money you get for those
No,
vouchers
it's not.
either.
It's not.
£25 to do you like 2-3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, that.
And that's the thing as well. So they're missing out as well. Their parents cannot tick them off to Innoflay or Cadonas or whatever else because it's extortionate.
Literally extortionate.
And then you go back to school. What do you do in the holidays? Oh, I went off to Spain, mum and dad, and I did this and I did that. And it's just like, oh, I just started time, and I haven't even got a garden to play in.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you've got kids in the house all the time, if it's raining, they're wanting snacks, they're wanting to be entertained, and everything, which puts more pressure on parents.
Huge pressure.
With the mental health thing again, as
Literally.
he was
But
talking about.
how? Like I'm literally in this situation.
Yeah.
Like how, with really poor mental health, how are you supposed to live? Like, I can't take my kids out when when it's raining. I can't afford to take them to soft play.
No.
I can't afford them to take them out for lunch.
Or
when
the
it's-
cinema, which is extortionate as well.
Literally, you're paying like 50, 60 quid for each of these activities. I don't have money to do that.
No.
So my kids, it's got an effect on my mental health. It's got an effect on my children's mental health.
Definitely.
Yes.
To the point where my son's waiting for a CAMHS appointment. Do you
Yeah.
know? It's a constant ripple effect. And all of it could just be fixed.
It could be, and that's
know?
absolutely shocking. Of course, it does for you as a parent. And you're like, well, I should be doing better,
Yeah.
but you can't.
I
It's
physically
outside of your
cannot.
control, and you are doing everything you can,
Yeah.
and you're doing it brilliantly. But kids will, we all kind of get FOMO. We all get fear of missing out, and for your young, you particularly feel that.
Yeah.
And it's so hard, and I feel for you and everybody in that situation. And we see it through the summer holidays ourselves.
That's it. There's so many people out there that are in the exact same situation. And the thing that bothers me as well is the stigma
Absolutely.
of being on benefits. Like, there is a question here. I can't even see it. there is one about stigma. Do you think it's fair to say there's still stigma about claiming benefits? And how do you think we challenge it?
Absolutely, there is.
It's people that have not experienced
Yeah,
it
definitely.
Yeah.
that are the judgmental.
Yeah.
They are people that have never done it. I mean, I was in the era where I used to go and actually sign on. I'd go to the dole office with my card,
Yeah, me and that.
sign on once a fortnight, and then my gyro would come through the door on a Saturday morning, and I'd be sitting under the letterbox,
Yes,
waiting for it.
yeah.
My
Yeah.
first one when I was about 18, it was £23 odd a week on income support, I think.
That is ridiculous.
And oh well, it was 19. It was a long time ago. I still got a couple of nights out in the week to manage to eat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Iceland. But this is it. There is still a stigma, and even though more and more people are having to claim social security,
yeah.
the stigma isn't lifting. Because folk will always look at them, especially when driven by the media, who keeps the all benefits shrouded. They'll find one person that's ripped off the system and blooted it, and they're there. Or they'll find one person who's had our face done in a hand that wants to go on and on about, oh look, I'm this, but I get X amount of money a year, and and that is not an example of someone on benefits, but everyone thinks, oh look at that, see, they are getting too much money. She can afford to get her lips done, and she can afford to go on holiday. No, that is not the real story. But whether Nadine is going around and speaking to you,
Or going to food banks,
or going to food banks,
literally,
or going down to community groups, or going to things like Andy Mann's Club, where people are, where men are really struggling with their mental health and poverty, and talking about that as well. That's not the stories they're telling, because that's not a big scurrilous cover story that folk are interested in. So mainly,
that's a reality.
It is a reality.
Yeah.
Government and media are driving the stigma around it. Absolutely driving it, and it is still very much there. And my God, if you add in a substance misuse problem as well, you have no chance of being anything other than considered the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
But where's the help for that as well?
Yeah.
That's it. So many judgments out there that people just don't understand that these people have went through tough times in their life.
This is it.
Why can we not just support them rather than judge them?
Yeah.
That's it. And this is it.
Absolutely.
You've got the who will blame, and as I said, it's the unemployed, it's the disabled, it's the single mums, it's the drug addicts, it's everything. These things don't come about for no reason at all, and they are not. It can happen to anyone. I know plenty of folk with substance misuse issues have come from incredibly well-off backgrounds who just partied a bit too much in the day, or a lot of them who've had a trauma that's driven that as well. And you need to look behind the person and understand the story. You see the face, and you're like, okay, I will label you this. Really, don't you want to know how this happened?
It's a lot deeper,
Or
isn't
what
it?
the person is, and how they are living, and what their experiences are, to find out how we can make this better. But it's much easier just to look at someone and tell a story you see from their face.
Exactly, absolutely. Right, the last question I've got for you: in a week like Challenge Poverty Week, what gives you hope?
The main event we do every year, where everyone comes together, it's been the music hall the last couple of years, going to be the Cowdrey Hall, and you get these amazing presentations from diverse organisations working in the community with some really, really challenging situations. Every single year I come out of that feeling completely inspired that despite all the pressures on the charities delivering this, and all the fear of funding cuts, and everything else going on, the passion of the people working in that sector to support their communities is just every year. Either end up, I think it was a Befriend a Child one last year, the year before, that had me in tears, the film that shmu made for that. Or some of them are just so positive and so inspirational, and seeing all that together in one room and having that shared experience and knowing that people do want to make a difference to address the challenges of poverty always gives me hope. Every single year that brings me hope.
We have to cling on to hope, don't we?
We do.
No,
Without that, we have nothing.
I'm totally with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
And when's that?
That is next Friday from 10 to 12 in the Cowdrey Hall.
Can anyone attend?
Yeah, if there's an Eventbrite link for it. I don't know if tickets are left, but if you type in Challenge Poverty Week Aberdeen, you'll find the link here. And if you go to Eventbrite, you can book tickets for that event there.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Fiona, for your take on that. And Rachel, thank you very much for that.
Thank you for having me.
No, I was just about to say, what would be your hope?
My hope would be, I mean, it's probably an idyllic world when people do not live in poverty, but it's getting worse and worse and worse. And when I was a kid, and I look at it now, and I see kids now, so many kids with maybe mental health issues because their parents are struggling.
Yep.
And I never had that when I was a kid. So
no, I don't remember anything like that. We had one or two kids that were visibly struggling, but never to the level it is
No,
now. Never.
no. And it's come all the way through society now. As you say, it's single mums, it's drug addicts, it's but now it's everybody and everybody. I mean, I know a lot of people who have had high power oil jobs and lost their jobs, and now they are going to food banks because they can't do anything else.
That's right.
And and you're right what you said before, Rachel. It's a stigma, and we should just banish the stigma.
Yeah.
So that's my hope. That we
I
get
like
rid
that.
of the stigma.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Fiona, and thank you very much, Rachel.
Well, thank
This
you.
has been our special Challenge Poverty Week. I've been Dave Ironside. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.